Yo, what's up guys, it's Turn here, and today we're back with a brand new video. And the timeline got wild today. So if you guys haven't heard the news, uh, Dashy and Illy tweeted out free agent, so we're just gonna be talking about like what that means for the Optic team, because I think that's like this kind of the biggest change we weren't expecting so far. So I think this makes things really interesting in terms of like other teams and like what this team's gonna do. So just gonna try to go based on facts and some personal opinions, and that'll basically be with the videos. So starting with this, obviously today we had Dashy and Illy both tweet out free agent. I'm not sure where that went, so we'll just scroll. So Illy and Dashy tweet out free agent, which is kind of crazy. Um, Personally, I expected Illy to kind of be a free agent because I thought the Optic would kind of want to upgrade. And also there was a lot of talks about like, is his injury 100% healed, like stuff like that. So I think it kind of makes sense from that perspective. But the Dashy thing was kind of interesting to me. The reason I think if I had to guess at why they were getting dropped, I kind of had two theories. I think Ilya, obviously, I think it's injury for him, and I think it's also like they thought they could get someone better to fill that position, which, whether right or wrong, like I could see why they would think that, but at the same time, I don't think you should have dropped him. I think you should have probably let this roster just run its course, and then maybe when Seth retires, you pick up another player, and you just have a young core. You have Dashy, who's arguably one of the best players in the league. He was number 2 in MVP votes. And then you have Shotzi as well. So you have your superstar SMG and your superstar AR. But now, I mean, what it's looking like, and we're not even sure if Shotzi's 100% resigning. I mean, I assume. But I'm not 100% sure. And after that move, like, does he want to resign? Like, that could be another question. And at that point, I mean, you only have Scump on your roster, which players, yes, they're gonna want to play with him, but at the same time, like, you're kind of putting him in a shitty spot. And at that point, does he even want to play? Um, I would hope this would have kind of like gone through Scump and they kind of talked to him about it beforehand, because I think the fact that if you just like released Dashy and like kind of gave him an ultimatum, which I don't think Hex and them would do, but let's just say worst case scenario, I think that's a huge fuck up. But yeah, so let's kind of get into like who we think is gonna replace them. So this is a tweet I'm gonna go to. Also, there is a Breaking Point article that Crone put out. If you guys don't know who Crone is, he's like CDL Intel. All the screenshots on my story and stuff like that are from him as well. So they tweet out FA. Um, People are saying Cammy and Hydra. I think from what I've kind of heard, I think Hydra's a lock. Um, I think that AR spot is still kind of open. I'm pretty sure from like everything that's kind of been rumored and stuff like that after this happened, is I'm pretty sure Scump is running a flex. Which now I have been talking to some of you guys on Instagram, and I mean some of you guys don't like it. Personally, I kind of like it. I think you kind of saw flashes of it on Gav. I also think that some of the games are a lot more AR dominant, so I think with Seth being as good as he was in the past and stuff, like yeah, he was a good sub, but like he's getting towards the tail end of his career. Obviously, he's still great, but like put the best weapon in his hands and see what he can do with it, because I think that will benefit them a lot, and I think that's kind of their thoughts as well. Um, but yeah, so we're looking at for ARs. I'm thinking Cammy and Attach, who were both highlighted in this article, which is kind of the first names that came to mind for me. Um, Also, another one that I thought was kind of interesting was if you guys haven't seen like the flank and stuff with like all the New York drama, basically they Hydra and Skies were kind of like playing Val together during the season, stuff like that, hanging out a lot. So people kind of thought it was like a Kenny Octane situation where they FaceTime each other before matches, all that kind of stuff. So like they thought that Skies and Hydra would be together, and I think that's kind of what we were all assuming. But obviously like this news breaks and it's kind of like, okay, well, I mean, this kind of shifts things up a bit because like if you're gonna make a change like this, you have to be getting at least one superstar for sure. And then maybe if you're gonna replace Dashy, um, I tweeted it I think, um, but like I'm not making that change unless I'm getting Cell. Um, Now that was kind of like my initial thoughts. After seeing it though, I mean, from a couple of things that came out, and I'm not sure where they were from, but I remember reading them. Like, it could be a thing where like Rambo and them just think that Dashy's playstyle is like a little too selfish, which I get 100%. Um, because like he does have really good stats, win or loss. I mean, he's kind of always been like that. But like I thought you just had enough on the team to kind of like counteract that. So I'm not sure I would make that change personally. Um, I thought that maybe keeping Dashy and then you could still make the move for Hydra instead of Illy, and you just throw Scump on a flex, and I think your team's like very very good. I think their main concern was kind of IGL, and also who's gonna do the dirty work. So I think that's why they're kind of making a change. That's also kind of why I think attach makes a little more sense. Obviously, Cammy's really good, but we haven't really seen him run a main AR. And we've kind of known that attach would be really good as a main AR for a while. So I think like I'm just not sure if like getting Cammy is a solver. A lot of people were saying that Scump wanted him like before the Optic Texas merger, which makes sense. But at the same time, it like are you getting better? Like, yeah, you could say Hydra's an upgrade over Illy, sure. Um, I would argue from like a kill and like gameplay sort of perspective. Um, in terms of like just being able to get kills, like they can always get them. I obviously personally I think Illy's really good. I don't think he should have been let go from this roster, but if it is kind of a concern of like injuries, then I mean that makes sense. To be honest, if I was Optic, I would probably be worried about that injury as well. Having him on my roster, just because you kind of know like the downward spiral that took last year. So I think making the change was kind of warranted. I don't think it was too crazy. I think the one that kind of caught me by surprise was that they were both like tweeted out FA. Um, so I mean, what after talking about like all the moves Optic can make, right? Like it kind of like what do Illy and Dashy do? Because at this point, I think Faze has to kind of take a look. This might not be like super popular opinion, but like I think RCD is really good. I just don't know how like you could pass up on a player like Dashy. Um, I've said this like before. I always thought that Celium and Simp would kind of end up on Optic. Um, because of the way they like got second places, stuff like this. I didn't think it'd be this year. I thought it'd be like if they have another rough year. I think bringing in Dashy secures it, and I think that you can kind of figure everything else out later. Like I don't think that like I think people have a very like shaped perception of like you have to have like an IGL or like a role player, bro. Like all these players can talk. Like there doesn't like, bro. Put four superstars on the same team and somebody will pick up the slack in that department. And I think that's just kind of how it goes. I think you kind of saw that with the old Optic roster. Ugh. Sorry about that. But yeah, so you kind of saw it with the old Optic roster. Um, so I think maybe bringing him into Phase. Um, and I want to say one thing about that. I think that team is disgusting. Like I'm not sure if they lose an event for the next couple of years. Um, I think you would have the best AR duo and the best sub duo. And I don't think it's. I mean, the sub duo maybe it's debatable after this year, but I think it'll kind of go back to normal next year, or depending on how well like Hydra and Shotzi can play together. Um, but like Dash on that team would be absurd. I also think if you're looking at like say he doesn't go to Phase, right? Phase don't want to make a change, which I think would be ridiculous not to personally. Even though I think RCD is very good, I think Dashy's maybe a player you can't really pass up. Um, I think you're probably looking at like them going maybe to their hometown, like Toronto. You see a mix of Dashy, Illy, Kleenex, and Afro. Also, the reason why I say Afro, if you guys don't really follow like Roster Mania news, I try to put it all on my story on Instagram so you guys can see it. But yeah. So Afro to Ultra is like pretty much confirmed for right now at least. So I think if you have those four, that team is like a top three team for sure. Like for sure. I'm not sure if they go higher than that, but I also think that kind of fixes Toronto's issue. Like you kind of have inconsistent Slayers. Phoenix can't really be relied upon to be like the best player on that team. Because you kind of want that guy dropping like a point .9 as weird as it is, just because like the pressure he puts on the map. So you kind of like gotta let him roam free. So I think it makes sense for Ultra. I think if you were looking, maybe Dashy wants to split off. Maybe he goes to Seattle. Him for Lamar. I think that team is really fucking good as well. Um, I think he kind of can go wherever he wants. I think if he goes to LAG and he says, "Hey, clean your roster," like they drop everybody on their roster that he doesn't want. I think, let's say, he decides to just build his own team. I mean, you already got Illy. And I think Illy will go with him if he asks him to. So you'd have Dashy, Illy. Maybe you keep Hook. Illy kind of had success with him in the past. Um, it just kind of makes sense. Uh, there's kind of a lot of options for those guys. It'd also kind of be interesting to see. Uh, so Illy and Dash are obviously really close, but like one amateur player that they are really good friends with is Mohawk. Um, so I'm wondering if Illy will maybe try to transition to a sub role so they can kind of get him if they were to go on their own separate team. Because I think they think he's really good. I mean, you also have Pro Loot. Like you could see Pro Loot, Illy, Dashy, and Mohawk, and that team's really good at S&D. And respawn, I think they can slay pretty well. You have a dirty work guy in Pro Loot. Um, I think I think that's a pretty good team. Like Dashy is kind of the domino that everybody's waiting for. Illy as well, but like I think that Dashy kind of holds the power in terms of he could literally go wherever he wanted. I'm not sure I could say the same for Illy. Um, but yeah. So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I recorded this. Wanted to try to get it out to you guys super quick. Just so that I kind of have my opinions out there. If anything else gets announced, then I mean we can talk about it. But leave a like if you guys are enjoying the off-season content. Let me know what kind of content you guys want to see down below. Also, put your Optic rosters down below or why you think Optic made a change. I'd be interested to kind of conversate with you guys about why you guys think they made this change. But yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.